You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Well, the news is so biased. Media bias isn't just taking a story and giving a left-wing opinion of it or spin on it. Media bias involves what stories they choose to cover and what stories they decide that they're not going to cover. That's a bias, too. It's like a silent bias, what they don't cover. And there were primaries last night all over the country, including here in Florida. President Trump had endorsed candidates, and this is not even in the news anywhere except in one or two places, and I did not even see this until after I got off the radio this morning. Every candidate that Donald Trump endorsed last night won.
Amazing.
26 of them. I mean, that's amazing. He endorsed 26 candidates.
That is incredible.
Every single candidate won. That means that President Trump's endorsement record in this primary season is now 235 wins and 17 losses, but 235 wins. It's a world record, and they're not talking about any of that on any of the news, including Fox News, by the way, because they don't want their viewers to see how powerful Trump still is.
Well, it's so funny because I woke up this morning and checked the Daily Mail, and the big headline was this big Democratic win of a congressional seat, which is like a special election that's only good till November.
Yeah,
and they overturned a Republican seat by 1.5% in New York, of all places, which is very liberal anyway. And I'm thinking, well, big deal. One seat. Trump has turned over dozens of seats, including Maya Flores, which was a big deal, which had been a Democratic seat for like 100 years. And they made, and then it was on the front page, big letters. Then it was all talked about on Fox. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. This is one race that they won by a small margin, and it's only good till November. It's in a blue state,
and he's got to run again in November.
But they're acting like this is the biggest political upset because what happened is it's the Democrats. It's given them a tiny sliver of hope. So all the media outlets are now pushing this story to give the impression that people are not as upset with Joe Biden as they want you to think.
Yeah, because
they really aren't mad at the Democrats.
One race in the whole country they won.
This is tells you this is proof. That the Democrats can win.
Yeah. So Donald Trump winning last night, every single race that he endorsed. Now, that doesn't mean...
And they didn't mention that, like you said.
That doesn't mean that every Republican everywhere won, like this guy in New York, but Trump didn't endorse that guy.
That's right.
And that's what's important, and they don't want you to know about that. And then there was a huge story with Governor Ron DeSantis here in Florida. This is amazing. Now, I knew that Ron DeSantis had been getting involved in local school board races here in Florida, but I didn't cover it too much because, when a school board issue is important, and I'm not saying it's not important, but if you're talking about a county school board somewhere, unless there's a big incident, like in Loudoun County, Virginia, where they were beating up parents and things like this, covering up the rape of female students in the girls' room because they let boys use the girls' room and stuff, that's different. But if it's just a regular school board race, the only people that care about it are the people that are in that county. So it doesn't really get a lot of press. And what Ron DeSantis did was absolutely amazing. I want to read this. This is in the Gateway Pundit. Red wave in Florida. Ron DeSantis flips multiple woke school boards from liberal to conservative. Because, not everything was a primary. There were real elections, too, that were final. Listen to this. This is in the Gateway Pundit. Conservatives in Florida are fighting back against the left's mission to brainwash children. The left is trying to force critical race theory, transgenderism, and pronouns on young school children. But the good guys won tonight. We saw massive election victories throughout the state of Florida, says the founder of the 1776 Project PAC. And this 1776 project pack is all about these school boards, okay? They're focusing in on that. And their spokesperson said this: it shows the desire of parents and residents for some normalcy in our education system. And that means pushing against transgender ideology, critical race theory, which is a very racist thing, critical gender ideology, which I've not heard that phrase before, critical gender ideology, and equity, which destroys merit in education. The 1776 Project Pack hopes to take these successes across the country. So let's go through these. Listen to this. Sarasota County, Florida. That's on the Gulf Coast of Florida. 3 candidates won their elections. They flipped the school board in Sarasota County from a 3-2 liberal majority to a 4-1 conservative majority. Completely flipped it solidly.
That's amazing.
Isn't that something?
That is.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big city, Sarasota.
Yeah.
Very nice there. That's a very wealthy town, too. A lot of rich people live there.
And conservatives.
Conservative, but that is Brian and I have been there many times. It's a very beautiful town on the water, on the ocean. It's really
nice.
And
that
very artsy.
That school board, one of their members got in the news recently. He went viral. He was bragging about being woke. I don't know if you remember this. It was a few weeks back.
That didn't serve him well.
Clay County, Florida, where I don't know where Clay County, Florida is. In Florida, we have 67 counties, and it's a big state. So some of these counties
I've heard of it. I just don't know exactly where it is.
Yeah, Clay County, they did a flip there. The school board in Clay County, Florida is now 3-2 conservative majority. Duval County.
That's Jacksonville.
Yeah, Jacksonville.
Huge county. It's as big as Miami-Dade.
Now, Jacksonville, so you should know, Jacksonville is the biggest city in Florida. A lot of people don't know that. And it may be the biggest city in the United States. It's a humongous city. I think I've heard it be said that it's the largest city in the United States. I could be wrong about that.
It's huge.
But Jacksonville, Florida is historically a liberal town. And it is. It's not a conservative place. It's very far north.
Not anymore.
In Florida, along the almost to Georgia.
And I think this has a lot to do with so many people moving here. And we've had over 200,000 registered Republicans in the last 2 or 3 years. And for the first time, there's more Republicans registered than Democrats. So the state itself has seen a major shift. And that has a lot to do with DeSantis, with these radical liberal policies, and people moving here from blue states and waking up.
And parents are like, "Hey, we got to get involved." So the Duval County School Board, which is Jacksonville,
huge,
flipped completely from liberal to conservative majority. That is huge. Miami-Dade County.
That's really amazing.
Now, Miami-Dade County is the largest county in America. And it now has a conservative school board majority. That's amazing. In Martin County, 3 conservative candidates won on the school board. So Ron DeSantis has been...
That's 5 or 4 or 5, it sounds
Is it 5? Yeah. Ron DeSantis has been doing at the school board level in Florida what President Trump has been doing nationally, like with governors and Congress and everything. And, what happens a lot of times, we get so wrapped up, conservatives, not Democrats, conservatives, we get so wrapped up in congressional races and governor's races, and those are important,
right?
And we neglect these local races, and that's why you have these liberal school boards and these no-bail district attorneys that Soros is plugged in, and these liberal sheriffs that don't arrest people.
Well, the liberals they're trying to rationalize this shift to the right, and instead of blaming themselves, even though deep down, and I think behind closed doors, they really discuss what's really going on. But outwardly, at least, maybe not, maybe they delude themselves all the time. But outwardly, they're trying to make it out like we're just radical and we've been radicalized. Instead of actually realizing, well, maybe critical race theory is a dumb idea. It's funny you mentioned this because my best friend who grew up here, she actually was born in Miami and we went to high school together. She now lives in Utah with her whole family. And she texted me. She said, my dad was just talking about the Florida school boards flipping conservative.
Yeah, it's huge.
So even her dad is following this because he lived in Miami a long time. He's from Alabama, but he lived in Miami a long time, and then Fort Lauderdale, where we grew up. And so I said, yeah, he flipped 4 or 5 counties. So I don't know how well known it is. Like you said, the news isn't covering it, but he keeps track of these things. But it really is amazing. And we talk a lot about parents and a lot of people saying, what can you do? And we talk a lot about how you get involved. And one of our listeners told me yesterday after she voted, she's going to volunteer to be a poll worker now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'll tell you off there. I don't know if she wants people to know, but she said she's going to do that now. And I think the thing is, conservatives, after COVID and after all this stuff and this radical agenda, I think people are finally realizing we have to get involved. Mm-hmm. We can't just sit by and complain and wish and pray. It's good to pray, but God calls people to action too. You know, it doesn't just say in the Bible, just pray and sit at home and wait. You are called. I mean, he put a lot of people into doing things and called them to action, to act. And it's important to do that as well. And I think getting involved with school board. Yeah. There was another race, I got to look at it, a Spanish woman. They were talking about her in the local news. I can't remember her name, but she was very upset over the CRT, and she was running. I'm assuming she won, but I'll have to look into that one. But I don't see Palm Beach had flipped, so I don't know, because she was running in Palm Beach. I wish. But that's great. 5 school boards, 2 of them huge counties, the 2 biggest counties in the state, which are traditionally
well, you know what it is?
blue, which is great.
This fits into Ron DeSantis when he's banning critical race theory and all this transgenderism and everything in the public schools. And that now we got the biggest school boards in some of our biggest counties totally flipped anti-woke, anti-critical race theory on his side with this, and it's pretty good. Now, in Florida, we had a Democrat primary too, and there was a pretty hot race between 2 Democrats who are running against one another, so one could win the opportunity to lose to Governor DeSantis in November, and Charlie Crist won. And let me tell you about Charlie Crist. I want to play a clip of him, and then I want to talk about this. He's running for governor as a Democrat in Florida. He won the Democrat primary yesterday.
Those who support the governor should stay with him and vote for him, and I don't want your vote. If you have that hate in your heart, keep it there. I want the vote of the people of Florida who care about our state. Good Democrats, good independents, good Republicans. Unify with this ticket.
Okay. Charlie Crist used to be our governor, and he was a Republican. Okay? He was a Republican governor of Florida before Rick Scott was governor, who's now a senator. And Rick Scott was the governor before Ron DeSantis. And this is a very strange thing when you watch the media. You know, one thing about growing older, although Charlie Crist was governor not that long ago, but as you grow older, you have more context because you've experienced more things, seen more things, and you have more context than somebody who hasn't been around as long. You know, life experience, I guess it is. I've been watching stories about Charlie Crist running against Ron DeSantis all day in the news, and I haven't heard one person say he used to be the governor and he was a Republican when he was governor and he switched. And, you know, what happened with Charlie Crist is the biggest phony you can possibly be. There are many people, including myself and many of you listening, that when we were young, we're liberals, we're Democrats, we were kids, we didn't know. You grow up and you mature, and then you become a conservative, right? You become a Republican. Even Donald Trump used to be a Democrat. Ronald Reagan was a Democrat, okay? Carrie Lake was a Democrat as recently as when Obama was president. I was never a Democrat.
President. I guess I always was grown
I guess so. I guess so. So, you know, Carrie Lake, Donald Trump, me. How many people can – because there's countless people, an endless list of people who, when they were young, were Democrats and liberal, and then they grew up and became Republicans. How many people do you know who went from being a Republican to a liberal Democrat?
The only one I know is Charlie Crist.
Well, there's only that's
the only one I know.
There's only 2 people I know, and one of them's dead. Okay, remember Ed Schultz? He was a radio talk show host. He was on MSNBC.
Yeah.
He was a Reagan conservative, and then he became a Democrat.
Yeah, another phony.
And Charlie Crist. And both of them are phonies, and I'll tell you what I mean by this. Ed Schultz, who passed away a few years ago, he became a liberal. There was a call put out when Rush Limbaugh became very famous nationally, when he became nationally syndicated and became a big force during the Clinton era. The Democrats were seeking out a Democrat alternative to Rush because they were getting clobbered by Rush. And a lot of people tried to answer that call and fail. Ed Schultz was one of them, so he switched. And he used to tell this story on the air about how he visited a homeless shelter and where his wife worked with homeless people or something. And that's when he realized that liberalism was the way, not conservatism. That is such a lie, because that's basically from the Howard Stern movie, Private Parts. Remember, he taught his first wife, who he's now divorced from, worked with mentally challenged people, and he took that story from Howard Stern's Private Parts and turned it into his own. This guy Charlie Crist was getting his butt whipped. Okay, he was getting his butt whipped, so he flipped and became a Democrat, and that's what it is. Charlie Crist is one of those guys that has to hold political office, or they're a nobody.
He has no conviction. He has no conviction.
Just holding an office.
He used to be pro-choice. Now he's pro-life.
No, he's pro-life. No, he's pro-choice now.
He was pro-life. Now he's pro-choice. He switched on that.
And how can you go from that? Yeah, it becoming a conservative after having been a liberal when you're young is a natural progression of maturing, because when you're young, you don't have an understanding. You just know what you're fed through media. So I
guess he's regressing.
So it is impossible for someone to honestly flip from being a conservative Republican to a liberal Democrat. The only way you could do that, go from conservative Republican to liberal Democrat, is if you're a fraud like Charlie Crist.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's amazing to me that no one, even the woman he was running against, Nikki Fried, in the Democrat primary, didn't point any of these things out. And in the media today, if you didn't know Charlie Crist, who's going to be, and Charlie Crist is going to be in the news a lot, because he's running against our great governor, Ron DeSantis. So he's going to be a big national figure and everything else. He has a tanning bed tan, he's really dark. He's dark, you see him, not one of them will tell you that he was a Republican and a Republican governor of Florida. They don't want you to know that, because they know it'll discredit him. And this clip here, he's running this anti-MAGA, anti-Republican, Republicans are bigots. Well, that's what he's saying there, right? Republicans are bigots. Well, that's an interesting thing. Well, so was he a bigot his whole life until he switched parties?
No, he's differentiating between Republicans and Trumplicans.
Yeah.
He is going after the full anti-Trump vote. The Democrats, the independents, and the anti-Trump Republicans, which there are. And if you can imagine, he's going, not as many as you think, that's for sure. He is going for that vote, saying if you're full of hate, which is ridiculous, and you're voting for DeSantis, I don't want your vote. I mean, he sounded like a little 8-year-old there.
Yeah.
I think I understand his strategy, but I think his approach is wrong. I don't think you ever want to. I think it's always a bad idea to insult the voters, no matter who it is. It never works for any politician to start insulting the voters. And I think if you're going to take that tactic, you can say, if you're not happy with the MAGA agenda, I'm the anti-MAGA candidate. You could do that, and that would maybe be more effective than I don't want your vote kind of thing. But I think Florida is very MAGA, and I think I don't think has a chance in hell to win, because I think Florida he sees that there's more Republicans now than Democrats.
Yeah.
So unless he pulls in those anti-Trump Republicans, if there are any, he doesn't have a chance at all. So his whole strategy is, well, the Democrats are going to vote for me anyway. So let me try to bring over any independents or Republicans that don't like Trump. And that's kind of the strategy he's working with here. But you're right. Floridians are very familiar with Charlie Crist. But if you're new to Florida, you might not be. And there's a lot of new people here. So do your research or listen to Brian. This guy was a conservative, then became a Democrat. He was a conservative for a long time as governor and lieutenant governor and everything. And then he flipped. So, he was the lieutenant governor under Jeb Bush, right?
Yeah, he was Jeb Bush's lieutenant governor. Another gift from the Bushies.
Yeah, then he became the governor, and then he flipped to Democrat. Nobody likes him in Florida. I can tell you that, because he has run many times and lost, even when he changed parties. Nobody likes him here. He's running because he has nothing better to do.
Yeah, that's true.
I can promise you that.
That's true. So listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Back after this.
Have you tried and tried to achieve your financial goals, but haven't quite gotten there? Don't worry, you're not alone. You just need the right motivation. And that's what you will find on the podcast, Investing Uncensored, with host Andre Stewart. Investing Uncensored brings listeners a candid and unfiltered glimpse into the real life of professionals from all industries, from pro athletes, tech founders, real estate moguls, and entertainers, who give tips on how they became financially independent or wealthy by investing. Whether it was mentally, physically, or monetarily, they invested to get where they are today, and share with Andre Stewart what started them on their journey to becoming an entrepreneur or choosing a particular career path as their main source of income. Andre Stewart is an experienced and successful investment banker who has advised venture capital firms and some of the largest tech startups in the world, and he shares his experience and expertise with his listeners. Add Investing Uncensored with host Andre Stewart to your podcast playlist, available on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and where you get your podcasts. Neon is hot, and neon signs are perfect for your home, office, business, or to celebrate an event. Mastery Craft, that's all one word, Masteri, on Etsy.com, sell amazing neon signs at great prices. They have pre-made and custom signs that are perfect for all rooms and every occasion. Right now, receive a 25% discount on existing signs. Enjoy 40% off personalized designs. These are handmade neon signs with a nice, clean, professional look. They're easy to install and ready to go. If you want to bring a cool look to any space, get your neon sign from Mastery Craft. That's all one word, Masteri, on Etsy.com. All of us are looking for ways to make our kitchen space more efficient, as well as aesthetically pleasing. If you're wanting to find a great way to display all the fruit or veggies you love to eat, check out the Zarami Fruit Hammock for the kitchen on Amazon. It's made out of cotton with wood sticks. It's a great way to store and display colorful and delicious produce in your kitchen. It fits perfectly under the kitchen cabinet, and it comes with 4 hooks. It's very easy to install and ready to hang in just seconds. This basket can hold lots of food and looks great no matter what your style. Order yours today on Amazon. Go to Amazon.com and search Zarami Fruit Hammock. That's Zarami, Zarami Fruit Hammock on Amazon.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I want to talk just a little bit about this student loan forgiveness, which is just the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I watched Biden's speech today announcing it. He was rambling in incoherent stories of the 50s about his time in high school and going to prom and his dad and how he got a new car to go to prom in and all that. And Steve Kane called me. He's like, "Are you watching this?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "This is frightening." And I told Steve, I said, it's textbook Alzheimer's. When someone has Alzheimer's, it's here in Florida, half the population have Alzheimer's. Okay, this is Florida. We have the oldest population in the country. And one of my grandfathers had Alzheimer's. One of Kathy's grandfathers had Alzheimer's. And I don't make fun of anyone that has this thing, even though Biden's a nasty criminal. Okay, I'm not making fun of the Alzheimer's, but I just want to make an observation about it. The reason he rambles about the 50s, when someone has Alzheimer's, severe Alzheimer's, they can't remember 5 minutes ago, but the 50s are like it was yesterday, right? And crystal clear. Their memories, like my grandfather couldn't remember anything that happened in the last few years, right? But he knew everything that happened when he was 13 years old, in 1910, and that's just how it is with Biden.
It's very typical with my grandfather. I remember I was in high school, like senior year, when he started to kind of decline. And then when I went to college, I'd come home and visit. And he would always talk about, like I said, another show, Collingwood. And when he was little, and I would say to my grandma, "What's Collingwood?" And she said, "That's where he grew up in Canada." And she said, when you have Alzheimer's, I knew nothing about Alzheimer's. I never even heard of Alzheimer's.
It's terrible.
This is back in like 1989, 90. And I'd asked my mom about it. She's a nurse. She said, when you have Alzheimer's, your brain, it's like you live in the past. everything, you don't know what's going on in the moment. Everything is in the past.
Yes.
And Biden always talks about the past. And, and also on top of it, he adds lies. He makes up a past. It's not even a real past. He makes it all up. So I don't know what's going on in his head. It's a frightening place. And I don't want to be there.
Having been around people with Alzheimer's, what I see in Biden all the time are textbook examples of it. This thing today's one. Another one, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, or it was last week when they did the big bill signing that when Mnuchin was there, when he gave the pin to Mnuchin, you could see how he was checked out in his face. He didn't know where he was. Yes. This is all textbook out. I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing. But I've just been around a lot of people with Alzheimer's.
I don't think you need to be a doctor. Like, you don't need to, what do they say? You don't need to be something.
A weatherman to know which way the wind blows.
To know which way the wind blows. You don't need to be a doctor to spot somebody who's completely out of it. It's obvious to everybody that he doesn't know what the hell's going on. And I think when he goes on these tangents from the past, I think there's people on the sidelines like face palming their head, like, oh, doing the face palm thing, like, oh my gosh, please no more.
Now, this business with the student loan forgiveness, the reason they're doing this today, okay, people are saying, oh, they're trying to buy the support of the young people. That might be a byproduct of it, but a big story came out that I'm not going to get as detailed right now as I did this morning on the show because I spent 3 hours detailing it. But a big story came out through John Sullivan, who has obtained emails and memos from the Justice Department, the White House, and the archivist that show that Joe Biden, the White House counsel's office, the Justice Department, and the archivist conspired to frame Trump so that they could get a fraudulent warrant to break into Mar-a-Lago. And this student loan forgiveness thing is happening today because it's a controversial thing. It pisses off everybody. Mm-hmm. It pisses off conservatives because as conservatives, we understand you should pay your debts. We're fiscally conservative. And it pisses off a lot of Democrats too because there's a lot of people that paid for college or paid for their kids' college or didn't go to college because they couldn't afford it or they didn't want to take out debt and take a loan. And it pisses off everyone. This is truly a distraction. It's such a it's a thing that is so controversial. It pisses everybody off. They did this today to try to get the news talking about that and not this new information that John Solomon broke on Hannity last night about this conspiracy to get a fake warrant to break into Mar-a-Lago and frame Trump.
I didn't see anybody talk about this, but don't lose heart because look what happened with the Hunter laptop. They denied that even existed.
Even still today, they don't.
For weeks. Russian misinformation and blah, blah, blah. They always do this at first. It's a knee-jerk reaction. But eventually the truth, filters out. And then they do end up talking about it at some point, and they come around. So don't lose heart about that.
Oh, I'm not at all.
Yeah, it will. No, I'm not at all. It will get out there. And a lot of people I know will call the show and when you're on in the radio in the morning and be like, well, this is going to go nowhere and this and that. You have to get out of that head that it's like it's going to go nowhere. So why are we even worried about it? It's important that we're talking about it and that you talk about it and that you share this show or share Brian's show. Share the articles with your friends. That's how things get out there. That's how you make people acknowledge it. Send it to your representatives and send them the article in a letter and say, what are you going to do about this?
Yep.
Don't just sit back and be like, well, nobody's going to do anything, so why bother? No, that's what they want you to do. Talk about it. Like I said, share the article with your coworkers, with your friends, with your family. What do you think about this? Tell them to share it. That's what social media is for. That's what it's there for. That's why I get upset when people leave social media. That's what the liberals want. They want you off those platforms. But if you're on Truth, fine. Share it with Truth. Tag Trump. Put it in Trump's thread. Get people watching it, reading it, and talking about it. And eventually the mainstream media will have to acknowledge it because, there's going to be a lot of conversation online. And whenever there's a lot of conversation online, they can't ignore it because if they ignore it, then they look like what they're doing is ignoring it. Then it's, you know, it's too obvious.
No, exactly.
So get a buzz going. You can help to make that happen.
No, exactly. So that, the student loan thing, we'll just say a couple things about it. I think everything that can be said, has been said, but I just want to mention a couple things about it. It is very bad news so far as the economy goes. The student loan debt situation, that's a lot of money. And right now, there's massive inflation going on in this country. That's why gas prices are so high. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know what causes inflation. There is one thing that causes inflation and one thing only. A lot of things can happen that cause things. Like, there can be a natural disaster that shuts down production of something, and it causes a shortage and prices go up or something like that.
Like the baby food.
Yeah, the baby food. Inflation is caused by one thing and one thing only. The government is spending too much money. And what happens is when they spend money, they have to make more of it. So there's too much. Mm-hmm. They're spending billions upon billions of dollars. They're sending another few $1 billion to Ukraine. This student loan forgiveness is billions of dollars. They had that big spending bill last week, billions of dollars with all that Green New Deal BS. So they have to manufacture more money, even if it's just digitally. So when there's more money produced to cover these things, it devalues the dollar. It causes inflation.
I'd like to see
Tucker. What's going to happen? I'm not an economist, but I took economics 1101 and 1102. Remember a couple things. But this student loan forgiveness is billions upon billions of dollars, and whatever estimates you're seeing on television, that comes from the government, and you know what that means. Whatever their estimate is only a small fraction of what it's really going to cost. It's always going to be a lot more. So it's going to cause even more inflation than we're already suffering through.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a problem. But, I'd like Tucker or somebody, maybe Greg Kelly would be good, to add up everything they have spent this year in less than 2 years, how much this administration has spent between the Ukraine and these two spending packages.
And now this.
And, I have a crazy idea, and I don't like to be a conspiracy person, but I almost feel like, I was thinking about this morning, I almost feel like the government purposely caused inflation to pass this bill. They can't pass an inflation bill without inflation. They have to have a reason for passing these bills and these green energy and all this stuff. And these huge spending packages are never popular.
Yeah.
And people can't get on board. But if you wrap it up in a neat little package that it's going to solve our inflation problems, they figure it's easier to sell, and and it gives the politicians an excuse to vote for it.
Yes.
To pay off their friends. So I'm almost wondering, do they do stuff to cause inflation, like jam up the supply chain?
Maybe.
All of a sudden, they drove up the gas prices.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, now they're starting to even out and go down a little bit. How is that happening? Nothing has changed in the country. Yeah. How all of a sudden are prices starting to slowly trickle down? And all of a sudden, food prices have just stopped going up. And all of a sudden, at the time when this is being passed, now you're going to see maybe things go down. Just things are so manipulated.
Oh, yeah.
That we don't even realize. And a lot of the things, like you said, that they talk about in the news are a distraction to get people talking about one thing, so you don't pay attention to the other thing. It's the shell game, so you don't pay attention to what's really happening. They decide what they want you to think about and what they want you to talk about and worry about. They decide, okay, we'll give them this to chew on for a while, but we're going to do this over in the corner here. And so we'll make sure they don't pay attention.
Exactly. Now, I want to talk for a moment about Mike Lindell and MyPillow, who's been a sponsor of this program for years. And, Mike Lindell, who's been canceled by everyone, right? Walmart, that was a big one. Getting canceled by Walmart, the number one largest retailer, that was a big one. They no longer will carry MyPillow products.
That cost him like $100 million.
Oh, yeah. And on top of all these other things where he's been canceled, the Home Shopping Network, QVC, Kohl's, Bed Bath & Beyond, and there's many other places, including regional chains have also canceled Mike Lindell, will no longer carry MyPillow products. And Mike Lindell promised his employees that he will not lay anyone off. And he has not laid anyone off.
Incredible.
And he's taken humongous financial losses. And what's happened is what's kept Mike Lindell's workers working and kept his company afloat that the left are trying to cancel because he's such a strong supporter of President Trump and he's such a MAGA guy, are people like you who are buying MyPillow products. I told you on our bed, we have about 8 MyPillows. Well,
Brian and I continue to buy MyPillow products all the time. I mean, you just bought the slippers. I'm going to buy more towels. We buy stuff every month. So we definitely walk the walk, and people in our family do too. It's really important to help him because, like you said, he cannot really – I don't think he's in any stores anymore. I think everything is online.
Yeah.
And I know when I got your first MyPillow, that pillow was a lot more than the ones they sell now because he's giving you the wholesale price.
The price you
on
get
everything, so it's a lot less expensive.
That's right.
But the quality's still just as good.
When you go to mypillow.com and you use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, you can take advantage of all the specials at mypillow.com.
Yeah, the prices
You're getting
are
the
good.
wholesale price that he would be selling them to Walmart and Kohl's and Bed Bath & Beyond. You are getting that wholesale price, not retail. When you use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. And I want to tell you, all of the MyPillow products we have at least 8. I think we have at least 10. If tell you that because our daughter has the pillows, we've got about 10 of the regular MyPillows.
Yeah,
we also
bought some as gifts too.
Yeah, we also have 4 of the Giza Elegance pillows. We have the MyPillow slippers, the MyPillow robes, the MyPillow pet beds, the MyPillow sheets, the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper, the MyPillow towels. We have bought all of this stuff using the promo code Kane because people do ask me, you have so much MyPillow stuff. Does Mike Lindell send you these things?
No.
And no, we buy all of it.
Yes, we do.
And the reason we buy all of it is because we want to support Mike Lindell. And when you use our promo code Kane at checkout, you're also supporting all of the content that I am connected with. The podcast here with Kathy, the radio show with Steve Kane, my YouTube channel. When you use the promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, at mypillow.com and take advantage of all these great deals, you're supporting Mike Lindell, you're supporting his employees, but you're also supporting all of the content that I bring to you. So please do that. Now listen.
And I think we were one of the first promo codes because we've been with them for about 3 years now.
At least.
And this was before everybody had a promo code and before he was kicked out of all these stores because I saw the writing on the wall that this guy was a true MAGA person with an amazing, because I'd bought you the pillows and they were really good. And I contacted him directly, actually, on Twitter, and he wrote me right back within 10 minutes and he wrote me personally and gave me the name of the contact person, and that's how it all happened.
Yeah, what happened was...
But I saw the writing on the wall. This was before he was canceled, and I thought, you know what, this is a great company. It's a MAGA company.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be a really good match for the listeners, and it really has worked out well for everybody.
Yeah, Mike Lindell, before he was banned from Twitter, followed me on Twitter. So that's how Kathy DM'd him on Twitter. And I remember just to give you an idea of the deal you're getting on the MyPillow products right now, I remember how much the original MyPillow got. Kathy bought me a MyPillow, and I had tried every pillow, bamboo pillows, foam pillows. I tried all the pillows on the market. And we even bought one of those pillows at Brookstone that cost so much money. I mean, I could get new tires on the car for what that pillow cost at Friendly Tire. And none of them worked. I mean, I was having headaches and neck aches and all this stuff. And Kathy got me the MyPillow. And that first MyPillow we got cost $65.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was like, golly, that's a lot of money for a pillow. And sure enough, it was worth $65. But right now, with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, just $19.88.
That's amazing. That's what I was saying. It's a lot less.
Yeah,
money.
$19.88 with the promo code Kane.
But it's the same quality.
It's the same pillow.
I like the Elegance pillows. I wanted to, real quick, you know, Ron DeSantis had that ad with the Maverick ad that came out?
Yeah, the Top Gov ad.
I read an article, a liberal tried to compare that to Dukakis with the tank.
Yeah.
They're trying to actually make it look like that's his Dukakis moment. These people are dreaming.
Well,
Ron DeSantis is the coolest guy ever. Dukakis was never cool.
Well, Dukakis, when he was running for president against H.W. Bush, which it was 88, That's how long ago it was. He did this ridiculous thing where he rode around in a tank and he put on this tank helmet and he looked like an idiot. And the reason he looked like an idiot, it wasn't the tank helmet, the tank, or the uniform. Dukakis looked a little bit like Mayor Pete, very strange looking guy. Mm-hmm. And he's about 5 feet tall. And he looked like a little boy.
Well, the helmet was a little big.
The helmet was too big because he's so small.
Yeah.
He looked like, you know what he looked like? He looked like the guy in Spaceballs.
Yes.
That was the Darth Vader character in Spaceballs. Dark helmet.
With Rick Moranis.
Yeah, he looked like Rick Moranis in Spaceballs.
Exactly.
The helmet was too big because he's so tiny. Yes. And he was in this tank.
It was funny.
And he looked like one of the tank commander's kids had stolen the tank and took it for a ride. He looked like a fool. Ron DeSantis in this Top Gov ad, which is a takeoff of Tom Cruise's new movie. Top Gov. Ron DeSantis looks cool. He is cool. He doesn't look like a kid. His clothes fit him.
Well, he's a big guy.
And he's fit.
He's fit. He's
fit.
Like 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
Handsome guy. He was in the military. He's a cool guy. He was a JAG lawyer. I mean,
Dukakis looked like an idiot.
Yeah, just because he was wearing a thing in the plane with the ear things on the side, like for a split second, they're trying to make the comparison. I thought that is really weak and pathetic. Nice try. That's never going to happen.
Yeah, go with that one.
No.
I saw that this morning.
Yeah, I thought that was really, you really can see how desperate the liberals are getting when you see things like that, because they're really like, what they're doing is they look for any little crumb they can latch onto and take it and make something out of nothing. And they're very good at making something out of nothing.
Yeah, they are. Now, listen, we're going to take a quick break. In fact, our last break of the program, when we come back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be right back.
From author Lorraine Kaplan Arbetter comes a book the entire family will enjoy, Sunshine the Fearless Dog, available on Amazon. Help a little dog teach her best friend how to love herself. Sunshine is a tiny little dog with a big personality. She doesn't let her size stop her from being true to herself. Now, she must use all of her puppy love and self-esteem to help her human sister realize her own worth. Can you help Sunshine teach her sister to embrace who she is? Find out when you read Sunshine the Fearless Dog. You'll learn to love yourself along the way, too. It's always important for kids to love themselves for who they are. Sunshine the Fearless Dog is a children's book that teaches kids the importance of loving yourself. This book is perfect for parents, grandparents, and teachers for classroom reading. Sunshine the Fearless Dog from author Lorraine Kaplan Arbetter is available in Kindle and paperback on Amazon. Order your copy right now. From author Christina Moss comes a sci-fi fantasy book for all ages that you will want to add to your must-read list. Entwine Star-Crossed DNA, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. 17-year-old Julie from Southern California meets Seth, a human from another world. Seth looks every inch the average Earthling, but the life of this otherworld rock star royal is anything but. Their meeting sets off a chain of events that sends them around the globe and hurtling across the Milky Way galaxy at light speed. Between desperate rescues and facing down evil aliens, Julie must correct a galactic injustice that could forever change the future of humanity. Entwine is a unique and heartfelt science fiction series that is both down to earth and exploding with action, space travel, new technologies, and plot twists. Start reading this amazing series today with Book 1, Entwine Star-Crossed DNA, from author Christina Moss. Available in Kindle, paperback, and audiobook on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. And for a limited time, get a free audiobook by visiting the author's website, ChristinaMoss.com. Are your mornings ready for an upgrade? The Morning Upgrade Podcast with Ryan Cote is all about personal development. By having a strong morning routine, you can change your life for the better. In fact, the right morning can be the catalyst to success and growth in your life. It's all about investing in yourself and personal growth in the right direction, making positive changes in your morning routine to get the results in life that you want. Striving to be a better version of yourself is a goal that never should end. We all need to work on improving ourselves. being our best selves impacts everyone around us, and it starts with the right attitude and the right morning routine. Add the Morning Upgrade podcast to your podcast playlist, available on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcast player, and morningupgrade.com. Make sure to sign up for the newsletter, the Morning Upgrade Podcast with Ryan Cote.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. I want to play a clip of Biden talking about the student debt relief, forgiving these loans today, and he made a very racist comment. Listen to this. This is Biden just a little bit ago.
The financial strain was much too high. About a third of the borrowers have debt but no degree, and worst of both worlds, debt and no degree. The burden is especially heavy on Black and Hispanic borrowers, who on average have less family wealth to pay for it. They don't own their homes to borrow against to be able to.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Okay.
I tell you.
In my family, I know you hear this all the time. I also like Sean Hannity. I don't like to talk about this, but neither of my parents went to college. And I was the first person in my family to go to college and graduate college. And I went as an adult, and my family are not, I know a lot of liberals, in particular, extreme liberal people, think that all white people have wealthy families with trust funds. There's no trust funds, And when I went to college, Kathy and I were married. I didn't start college till after our daughter was born. Well, not right before she was born. In fact, when we adopted our daughter, I was just telling our daughter about this the other day, because I remember we adopted her on a Saturday, and I was in college then, and I took classes on Saturday morning, and I had just started college. And I had an English class on Saturday morning. I went from class to pick you up, and we went and adopted our daughter. And that was when I just started college, like my first or second semester. So, and so I went to college while I was working on the radio, had Kathy and our daughter, and we paid for it. We didn't take out loans. We paid for it. And I sometimes skipped a semester. Sometimes I took one class. It took me a long time to get through college because I was working, I had a family, and we were paying for it out of pocket. And, I heard some people today, some of these Democrats were talking about how there's a college scam where, the books and things are expensive. The reason that is college, even the state system is very expensive, and it gets really expensive at the books. I can remember when I was taking my history major, there's a lot of reading involved in history, and I'd have some classes that had 5 books just for the one class, and my books would cost over $500 for the semester, just taking 3 classes sometimes. It was a lot of money, especially out of pocket.
Yeah.
And isn't that crazy? And I just went to State University, here in Florida. It was very expensive. The reason that there's this college scam that you hear about with the high cost of the classes and the high cost of the books is because of the government. College used to be, many years ago, much more affordable. People don't realize this. It used to be much more affordable. And what happened is the government got involved in the student loan business, where students could take endless amounts of money in student loans, regardless of credit or background. And what happened, the schools, the colleges increased their prices because the government was paying for it with the student loans.
Yeah.
And the high cost of college is because the government got involved like they're doing here.
Well, the government always drives up the prices of everything. They manipulate everything. And more poignantly, what he said was that he doesn't believe Black or Hispanic people can own homes.
Yeah.
Just like Joy Behar doesn't think they can own guns either.
That's right.
Democrats have always treated Blacks as if they were their pets, and they still do to this day. They're the ones who think that it's amazing. They think we're bigots. They're the ones who think they are less than. They're the ones who victimize them and put them in a box and say, okay, well, they don't own home. They really think less of you. Wake up. I know black people own homes. My neighbor, I got a black neighbor. I got one next to me, one across the street. And the richest kid at my daughter's high school was a black girl. Both her parents were doctors, and the girl drove a Maserati to school. That was public high school.
Our daughter's school.
And I asked her, who's the richest kid in your school? And she named the girl, and she said, this black girl. And I said, what are her parents? She said, they're both doctors. I said, well, that'll do it.
Shocker,
Guess
Biden.
what, guys? Black people can be doctors, they can be lawyers, and they can be presidents, and they can own guns. Okay, this is the 2022. I know Democrats
they can be lawyers and accountants too, Biden.
I know they have a hard time accepting the fact that they have come a long way and that they can make it on their own, but they are no less than a person than you or me or anybody else. But Democrats continue to see them as unfortunate.
Well, you know what it is, Kathy?
As needing help.
This thing with Biden.
And as victims. And they will all, and like I said, as their personal little pets that they have to help.
This thing with Biden,
Sickening.
This goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the Alzheimer's. He's talking about the 50s. In Biden's mind, it's still 55. And segregation's still going on. And blacks have not, and other minorities have not made inroads.
Maybe he does think it's the 60s and that it is still this way. That's possible. But I don't know. He said the same thing about Barack Obama when he was lucid, and he said he was clean and articulate. And
that's right. That's true. We did.
And that's a shock. That's a fairy tale.
Biden,
let's write a book.
Biden's a bigot. Now I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters. Okay. Now, our Patreon supporters, thank you to all of you. You make this show possible, and your support helps us very much. And, all Patreon supporters have access to commercial-free editions of each and every episode. And there's also other perks. Kathy and I on our Patreon page post exclusive content. We, on occasion, do Patreon-only podcast episodes, and there's other content and things we put up there just for Patreon supporters. And if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link to our Patreon page in the description of this and every episode. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you, and they also have their name listed in the description of the podcast episodes as well. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, and Lay Paul. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you guys so much. Now, some of you may have seen my vlog when I went to vote in the Florida primary yesterday. Go and watch this. This was an absolutely amazingly spontaneous thing. I went to vote yesterday in the Florida primary, and I made a vlog about it. Because you guys know on my YouTube channel, I am always making videos and things. I live stream on the radio, upload the podcast, and I make vlogs all the time showing certain things. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to make a vlog of voting. Now, you cannot videotape inside the vote room. I understand that. Okay, that's against the law. You can't take pictures or video inside the ballot rooms where people are voting. It's against the law, even in Ron DeSantis' free Florida. But, excuse me. I'm sorry. I was petting our cat, and I'm allergic to cats, and we have a cat, and I'm having like a cat allergy attack. Been having it through the whole show.
She is shedding so much
because it's
summertime.
The summer. Yeah.
Like Emily has these special brushes for her to help because even the cat is allergic to herself. She's always sneezing. So we have to brush her to get the dander off. Yeah. And I just can't believe the amount of hair. It's like, and it just never stops.
I can't. It's like it's like I've been doused with mustard gas right now. So
maybe don't
struggling.
Pet her right now. See, I'm not allergic to cats like
I just went. I went to pet her right before the show, and then
maybe it's a bad idea.
I went to pet her again during the break, and I'm having a hard time breathing and talking. So I apologize, guys. But anyway, so I made this vlog, and you guys go watch it. And what I did was I went out on the street in front of the polling location, like 300 feet away from the polls. And I made an intro, and I showed all the campaign signs for the people that are running. And I was wearing my favorite Trump shirt I have. It's the one I have with George Washington wearing the red hat, and George Washington's hat says "Make America."
It's a great shirt.
And President Trump has seen that shirt with his own eyes.
I love that
I wear, and I always wear that to the Trump rallies because no one else has that shirt, and it just blows everyone away. I was wearing it up at Mar-a-Lago, and Blacks for Trump, like, where did you get that shirt? It's like, that's a cool shirt. So I was wearing my favorite Trump shirt. I was wearing my Trump sunglasses.
I'm going to bury you in that shirt when
Yeah,
you die, honey.
right.
When you kick the bucket,
I
I'll
don't know,
bury you in
Kathy,
that shirt with your red hat, your jeans.
Let me
That's
tell
like
you,
Brian's uniform.
I love that shirt so much. I've worn one out. I'm on my second one.
Yes.
Okay. I'm on my same one of the same shirt. So I had my Trump shirt on, my favorite one, my Trump sunglasses that say Trump over each of the lenses, and I had my Make America Great Again hat on. I'm like 300 feet away from the polls, and I'm making this video out on the street. Yeah. And I saw the election worker was like this. This guy, he was an old man, and he's one of the poll watchers. And I saw this guy start darting towards me as I'm doing this. He was having a meltdown. He saw the MAGA hat, and he got triggered. And I don't show his face on the camera because you can't do that because you get in trouble for that at the polling location. But you can see him and see that he's an election deputy, or said something on his shirt, election deputy or poll deputy, which I've never even heard of before. And he came charging at me for me to shut down my camera, which I did not do.
He walked like a quarter of a mile.
I couldn't believe this, and he was like. He's like Biden. He was feeble, so he was hobbling. But this guy was hobbling and scooting his feet as fast as he could to get to me.
All he saw was that red hat.
It triggered this guy,
and he knew. And it's amazing. Whenever you wear your Trump gear, you always elicit some kind of a reaction. Usually, it's positive. But you've had a couple instances where you've had people actually come up and start harassing you. The CNN guy, where people have actually gotten hostile towards you.
They get triggered.
If you were wearing a blue hat, I promise you that guy wouldn't even have bothered to come up to you. He would have been like, "Go for it."
And,
you know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
And one thing happened and go and watch the vlog. It's unbelievable. I mean, I did not expect this to happen, and it happened. And I'm glad it happened while I had my camera running. That helps that people could see it.
You should just be filming all the time when you're out with your Trump hat. You never know what's going to happen.
Oh yeah. And when I told I could film here, I could take pictures here. I know, and messing with the wrong guy. So then I go to vote. He followed me in to the polling location. He followed me and behind me, and he was pissed. I've never had this experience before when I've gone to vote where someone was. I found it to be. It was like an attempted voter intimidation. Quite honestly,
it was like harassing
is what I felt like. But I'm not going to be intimidated. And I went in, and the poll workers, because I had my MAGA hat on, my Trump shirt, my Trump sunglasses. They were so rude to me, all of them. And some of them, you don't know which is the Democrat and which is the Republican poll watchers inside. All the poll workers, there was only one other person in there voting at the time, and they were leaving as I was walking in. Every one of the poll workers and the poll watchers were just rude to me. I have never had that. Sometimes I'll go and vote, and sometimes the volunteers are listeners, and they'll know me from the radio. Oh, hey, Brian. Sometimes that'll happen. I've never been treated like this before. I felt like I was voting in like Saddam Hussein's Iraq, not Ron DeSantis' Free Florida, and they knew I was against their party, and they were really nasty and rude to me. I've never experienced anything like this before. But you know what? So what? These triggered liberals, let them be triggered. And here in Florida, you can wear whatever you want to wear when you vote. I know in some states you can't wear political stuff, I've been told, when you vote. I don't know if that's true or not. I've had people tell me that. That is not the case in Florida. And I don't get it. If I saw someone wearing like a Biden-Harris hat and a Biden-Harris shirt, I would think they were an idiot, but I wouldn't be rude to them. I wouldn't say anything to them. I wouldn't chase them across a parking lot.
Well, you're not a liberal, that's why.
Liberals are Nazis.
Yeah. It's so funny because they do exactly what they accuse other people of doing.
And what they think they're against.
And they just don't see it. I mean, they just don't see it. It's really they have no self-awareness.
None.
I've realized across the board. They all have a very similar personality type. And I was telling Brian the other day, because you had used the word overseers on the radio when you were talking about some kind of Democrat. And I said they've always been overseers, even from the time of slavery when they owned slaves. Up until now, they're still overseers. They love to control. They love to tell people what to do. They love to crack the whip and have you under their, do what they say and paint you in a horrible light. And they're just all about control and power.
Yeah.
They've always been overseers. This is nothing new. It's a certain type of personality is drawn to it. And they clearly feel that minorities are not as up to the same level as white people because, like I said, Biden said they don't own homes. Joy Behar said they don't own guns.
Well, Biden said they're not accountants or doctors or lawyers.
Exactly. It's absolutely. Let me tell you, my doctors. I have a lot of doctors. One of them is white. Most of my doctors are Spanish. I have one that's Asian. My ENT. I have like 6 specialists. One is a white guy, and he's Jewish, by the way. Everybody else is Hispanic or Asian or black. Go to Miami. You'll be hell-bent to find a white doctor.
Well,
I'll tell you that.
The thing about the liberals, like this triggering that I experienced yesterday, I enjoy it. I love it. And
you're a sick person.
I stand my ground, okay? But what really amazes me is how the left believe that they're the accepting, tolerant people.
Like I said, they have no self-awareness.
Who embrace diversity.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
And we are the bigots.
I know.
And the hate mongers. We are the people that are tolerant and accepting, and we don't judge people. We don't, there are a lot of people out there that we don't agree with. We don't segregate them from our society. We don't chase them down.
We don't go up and harass them out of the blue. There was a guy who was a liberal, and he went to a Trump rally to see what it was like. I've heard a few of these stories, and there are a few liberals. I probably heard about a dozen or so. There used to be a whole YouTube channel about it. The Walk Away, I think, it's still on there. And people would give testimonials. And a lot of those people were liberal, and they went to Trump rallies just out of curiosity. They said they all converted to Republican, and they all said that the Republicans and the Trump people were nothing like the media plays them out to be. They were the nicest people. One guy said he felt safer there than at like a Black Lives Matter event, and he was black. And he said, I felt safer and more accepted there. And he made a video about it, and people were inviting him over and hugging him and this and that. That is how conservatives are. Obviously, there's kooks all around in every group, the tiny, tiny percentage, more so in the Democrats for sure. But overall, 99.9%, everybody's welcoming and loving and kind. But the media paint us as these horrible people because that's politically advantageous for them to do. They have to create an enemy and use fear tactics to get people to elect them because their policies suck.
Yeah, if you go and, as an example, last week or the week before, I went up to Mar-a-Lago a few times after the break-in. And, of course, I'm wearing my Trump gear. As I'm doing the pilgrimage.
When are you not wearing your Trump gear?
All the time. When we go out to eat.
That's the only time.
Unless it's Wings Plus.
That's the.
If we go out to eat, like today, we were going to Chipotle, and I had if you guys were watching me on the radio this morning on YouTube, I had a Trump sweatshirt on. I took it off because we were going inside to order food. Because they'll spit in your food. You don't know what they'll do.
Don't know.
But if you watch my videos when I was up at Mar-a-Lago and you see me walking, I'm just walking down the sidewalk, and these people come by and they're calling me a mother effer and using all this stuff. These liberals. I mean, if I was driving down the road and I saw someone wearing Biden gear,
which you'll never see.
I know. I would feel sorry for them.
When was the last time you saw anybody in a Biden hat?
But I can't imagine me yelling out the window, "You mother effer!" And but we're the hate mongers.
Wear your MAGA hat with pride, and you might elicit a response, but that's okay. Just handle it with class, like we always do, and be kind. But it doesn't matter in a lot of now. Sometimes people are shocked, but sometimes these people are so far gone. It just doesn't matter what you do. They're going to believe what they want to believe. They're completely insane. And it's amazing how they just do not see this. But I don't understand when Biden says these things all the time about minority communities. I don't understand how that doesn't tick them off. Like, don't they see the kind of person? He has made one bigoted comment like that after another. It's not a gaffe. This is how he really thinks. He really thinks that a black person cannot own a home and is poor and living in the ghetto.
Yeah,
he thinks that's how you all are.
That's his world. It's
incredible.
Well, listen, we're all out of time for today, but we will be back next time. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We will talk to you next time.
Anxiety is the most common issue in the world of mental health. The book from author Jason R. Sullivan, Quiet Chaos, available on Amazon, discusses the treatment and reflects on how to deal with anxiety issues in a completely different way. Quiet Chaos doesn't tell you to work harder and look happier, nor does it tell you to fake it until you make it. Rather, it expresses the importance of struggle and the power of intimacy in the hearts and minds of those dealing with anxiety. This must-read and life-changing book is a deeply honest conversation between the author and the reader, a conversation that could just change the way you see yourself and the world around you. Quiet Chaos from author Jason R. Sullivan is available on Amazon. It can help you or someone you care about. Order your copy right now.